Boksburg in Ekurhuleni in South Africa. We take you to East Africa now, where tensions are mounting in Tanzania, where a prominent opposition leader, Tundu Lissu, has gone on trial for treason in the capital, Dar es Salaam. This comes just weeks before the country heads to highly contested general elections. One that Lissu's Chadema party has already been barred from contesting, raising fears of deepening political expression or repression in East Africa's second largest economy. You talk now about this to Jerry Muro, political analyst from Tanzania. A very good evening to you, and thank you so much for speaking to us.
Good evening to you, Tabito.
So, as we mentioned, that this particular trial takes place ahead of the elections. Would you say this is a landmark election, and also this particular trial a watershed one, given the fact that there are some who are even accusing President Suluhu Hassan of a new reign of authoritarianism? Your thoughts on this?
Maybe I should put it right before we proceed, that the trial began, it was almost 2 months before. It was during the preparations to get into the election. And what happened, it was the matter, really the police and other instruments measured it and weighed it, and they came into conclusion that this matter should be taken into the court. And it is only court, the institution that is allowed constitutional to translate for us what is really justice and what is really not justice. So the current status, the court is still undergoing the case, and at the same time, we are proceeding with the election processes as well as the political rallies for different political parties. And for those who didn't know, I'm here also to clarify that it is not only Tundu Lissu's party, that it is only a opposition party in Tanzania. Currently, we have got almost 25 political parties which are active parties. But the political parties that are participating in this general election, and especially on the presidential candidates, they are almost 8. So we cannot talk much on what it is in the court. We rather leave it to the court and wait to hear what will transpire from the court. And also, there is the question of how does Samia Suluhu Hassan is governing the country.
Okay, let's get to that, Mr. Muro, before you continue with that, because surely the question must be asked. If the main opposition or one of the big opposition parties is barred from taking part in the elections, it does raise eyebrows. And there's the fact that someone who's seen as your main contender, who is not only barred from contesting, but also facing criminal charges, and that of treason. Does it not raise the question of whether this is a contest or a coronation?
It raises a question, for sure. And I agree with you. It raises a question. But if you will go back for almost 6 months, a main political party, opposition party in Tanzania, that is Chadema, that is being led by Tundu Lissu, they came out and gave their statement that they will not participate in this election unless there is a major changes in our constitution. Not only constitution, but they wanted an independent and fair electoral commission and some other issues. So they came out before and said it clear that even if Tundu Lissu was not taken into the court, they will not participate this general election, because for them, they said in order for them to participate, then they wanted some almost 3 to 4 key issues to be discussed and to be resolved before they get into general election. So they made themselves clear that they will not participate. So what happens to Tundu Lissu, it is something that came after their statement that they will not participate. So for us in Tanzania, we're really, really upsetted with also what is happening. But the participation of the main opposition party really upsetted many of the people when they moved out from the race.
And
so
I think
we have
it
also
does
to
bring
look into these two issues.
it does bring the question to mind of whether or not there hasn't been a rapid dwindling of civic spaces in Tanzania and the human rights records in terms of the conditions not only set by law enforcement, but the comments made by President Suluhu Hassan with regards to Tundu Lissu, which have been seen as threatening statements. So it comes down to the institutionalization of political exclusion. Is there an environment that makes people feel like their democratic rights are intact?
To answer your question, there is two approaches or two school of thoughts. There is one that says it is not that clear that they have created a fair and a well competitive grounds for all the parties to meet and do whatever they can do for their political parties. The ground is not fair. There are those people who are saying. And there is another people who are saying, according to the constitution, laws, and regulation, there is a grounds, there is a fairness. Now it depends with who is interpreting the situation current. For example, since we started this political campaign, everybody knows during election time, it only comes after 5 years. Now, during these 3 to 4 months of political campaign, uh, party campaigns, party nomination, and whatever that we can say it covers up the whole process. We have seen not only in Tanzania, but in so many countries, especially in East African countries, there are those with power who are struggling to remain in power. And there are those who are struggling to take the power. Now, that struggle, it has not been that easy, not only in Tanzania. You can take a case from Uganda. Besigye has been held into custody for almost years and years. Look at what is happening in Rwanda. Look at what is happening in Congo. Recently, they prosecuted the former president, Joseph Kabila. So naturally, these are the things that they are likely to happen during the election time. And after election, you'll see everything is getting into normal situations and people will move on. But currently, I want to assure you, in Tanzania, there is a peace, there is stability, and political parties are they are allowed to do whatever they can do for their parties to
Am I
contest,
to understand
look
you
for the
that
votes.
am I to understand you that there is real multi-party democracy happening in Tanzania, that there hasn't been a banning of rallies, that there hasn't been a shutdown of media, and if we talk about comparisons, there is Luhaga Mpina, who has also been as some have said, a victim of the authoritarianism. You made the comparisons with other countries. What about Tanzania, Turkey, Mozambique, where opposition parties have been barred from taking part in elections due to terrorism charges? Are you saying this is a normal landscape for a country that is allowing freedom of expression? Because you seem to be implying that these things only happen in the run up to the election, which is even more worrying, actually.
No, 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 not at all. I'm not trying to 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 to, to, to compare this situation in different countries as the base of my argument. No. What I'm saying, not only in Tanzania, not only in Africa, even in Europe, even in America, we have seen during election time, there are situations that are emerging, sometimes out of control or within control, or there is some political games. You know, politics, it's a game of numbers, game of chance, game of creating environments, game of pursuing, game of getting people to follow you. Now, those mechanisms and the instruments that have been used during these elections, look what is happening to Luhaga, as you have mentioned. I should say a little bit about him because we have been with him in the same party, political party. We have been in him in politics. We know his transition from CCM, the ruling party, into ACT. And the constitution of ACT, what it says, and the people who objected Luagampin are not people from ruling party or people from government institution. It was the battle within themselves. This is what ended up to the court. The same applies with Tundu Lissu. What happened? He was in public rally addressing the public, and he came out with some comments that the authorities and the people who are supposed to interpret them, they said there is something here, we should take it to court. So I'm not trying to compare on that scenario on that way. What I'm trying to say, in every 5 years, being it in Tanzania, being it whatever, there are situations that seems to be not normal or not ordinary, but because of the period that we are having, the situations are there. Sometimes we can control them, sometimes they are uncontrollable. You have said a little bit about what is happening in Mozambique. We saw the situation in Mozambique. It is quite different from what is happening in Tanzania. Some people have said Samia Suluhu Hassan is dictator. But we had the late former president, Dr. John Pombe Magufuli. Many said he was bit dictator more than Adolf Hitler. But at the end, he became an hero for our country. So it depends with who is translating those activities, those content, and those arguments, on which side is one is.
But all right.
In really situation on the ground, you have not seen anybody being gunned down because of the political situation. You have not seen anything happens within the political rallies. Nobody has been banned. No political party has been banned. The election campaigns are
all right. Mr. Muro, I have run out of time, but in a word, yes or no, are you saying the conditions are conducive for a free and fair election in Tanzania?
Yes or no? That is a little bit a trap.
No, so I'm asking, yes. Is it yes or no? Are the conditions conducive?
Yeah, conditions are conducive because all right. We have seen
Jerry Muro,
and people are on the ground.
Jerry Muro, a political analyst from Tanzania, pretty much saying, well, it is election times and the situation on the ground will be analyzed depending from which prism you see it from. And I mean, he's accurately proved that. Thank you so much for speaking to us, Jerry Muro, political analyst in Tanzania. Brings the time to 26 minutes past 9.